Welcome to Market Mastery, a series where we talk about a champion in League of Legends and learning their mechanics in order to get them to Mastery 7. If you've seen our previous episodes, we have covered the annoying clown Shaco. Now, we're moving out from the jungle this week and into the bottom lane, and we're going to cover a champion who is just as insane as Shaco, but with a little bit more of an artistic flair. When you think of a serial killer, what do you think of? For me, I think of uncoordinated plans, messy jobs, very specific targets, all in the headspace of some lunatic psycho. If that's not insane, I don't know what is. Now take those examples and then flip it. Not the serial killer part, that's still there. We're gonna tiptoe into the mindset of a champion that has a very odd obsession with the number 4. Jhin is a high damage ADC assassin, meaning he likes to clean up after a fight or straight up engage from a long distance. He can walk in and shout the number 4 and you're left with a gray screen. This is all because of a gimmick that makes him not like a traditional guns blazing ADC. Jhin's passive is Whisper, a hand cannon with only 4 shots. The 4th shot not only crits 100% of the time, but it does more damage the less health the enemy has. Think of it as a free execute. As if that isn't bonkers enough, his passive also gives him a whole bunch of bonus AD as he levels up since he can't get attack speed. And if you're saying, why build attack speed at all if he has fixed shots? Well, the last part of his passive is that every time he shoots a critical hit, he gets a burst of movement speed scale off of his attack speed. That way, you don't have trouble escaping combat. There are 2 builds I like to run on Jhin. One dealing good damage as well as extra mobility, and a build that makes enemies go colorblind in one team fight. Now that's out of the way, I can talk about his abilities, which make him go from a 4 to a 44. His Q is called Dancing Grenade. This is the ability you're going to be using the most. It's a projectile that as soon as it hits a target, it'll bounce to another target in range up to 3 more times, for a total of 4 attacks. It also gets stronger if it kills 3 enemies before it bounces to the 4th, as if I haven't said 4 enough as it is. His W is Deadly Flourish. This skill shot has 2 parts. The passive is that anytime an enemy is damaged by either Jhin, his teammates, or if they walk into a trap, the enemy will be marked. More on that here in a bit. The active is that Jhin fires a thin beam that will pass through minions and monsters until it hits a champion. Simple, right? But when a champion is marked and Jhin hits him with his W, the champ is rooted for a bit and then Jhin activates his movement speed passive. You want to use this to either get away or engage in the fight as this is your main CC. His E is Captive Audience. It's a trap that works similarly to Shaco because it stealths after placing down. But instead, Jhin's trap slows the enemy as well as marks him with his W passive. It gives your team true sight of the enemy for a bit. The explosion is actually really good since it's hybrid scaling. That's if the enemy is dumb enough to stay in the trap, since this detonation is 2 seconds after it's triggered. Now, his ult is what really makes him special. The ultimate is called Curtain Call, which is fitting considering he makes a cone of death that ranges from your turret to the opposing turret. Jhin transforms his pistol into a high caliber sniper, shooting 4 high damage shots every time you press R. Each shot scales off enemy health, with the last one critically hitting for 135% crit damage. To put it simply, his ult are just his auto attacks on steroids, hitting an enemy below 30% and you're almost guaranteed a kill. There are 2 main builds that are run on this artist of a serial killer, high crit and pure lethality. First, I'll talk about the crit build. Your main rune setup will be Fleet Footwork so you can get a quick jolt to speed after a charged shot. Other runes are going to be Presence of Mind, Bloodline, and Coup de Grace. Secondary runes are Cheap Shot for the extra damage from your W and slows, and Relentless Hunter for out of combat movement speed. Then you want to run Double Adapted Force and Armor. For his high damage execute build, your runes are going to be Dark Harvest, Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collection, and Relentless Hunter. These will make all your shards hurt when the enemy is low enough health. The harvest stacks will help execute damage, so if you see a soul available, don't be afraid to pop it as soon as possible. His secondary runes are going to be Presence of Mind and Coup de Grace, along with Double Adaptive Force and Armor as well. Depending on your opponent, you can either bring Heal or Cleanse along with your Flash. Heavy CC, you might want to bring Cleanse. If you're going against a very squishy bot lane, bring Heal for more fight time and survivability. As Jhin, you want to focus bans that are mostly people who can catch him in a quick snare. Just like his animation in the Awaken music video, once he's caught, it's over for him. I mainly ban heavy CC like Leona or Morgana, but if you're able to work around those, then you can ban Lucian and Ashe. One has a faster burst and the other one has a constant slow. Your main focus in lane is to harass as much as you can with your first shot. Use your fourth shot as a bargaining tool for your opponent's health. You get farm and gold with minimal effort, or you blast them with your fourth shot for a decent chunk of damage. Either way, it's a win-win for you. When you're in lane with Jhin, going off your support or your abilities is key to getting good trades or kills with them. For the crit build, go Q, W, E, then max out in that order. However, if you're running the lethality build, you want to do Q, W, Q, E, and then max out Q, W, E. For the first build, you're going to want to aim for Gale Force, because sure, why not add homing missiles on a dash that also executes? But before that, you might want to nab Boots of Swiftness. You're not going far unless you got your sweet kicks. This is to make you even harder to catch after you crit somebody. Once these two items are bought, next item is Rapid Fire Cannon. Being able to hit somebody with high damage from even farther away is always going to be a plus. Next is Infinity Edge for a good damage boost. It will bump your auto attacks to do about a quarter of a health bar on a squishy champ with one crit. After those items, Jhin is very free flowing. Any critical strike or damage item will help him a lot. This is pretty much it for your standard crit build. Now for my favorite build. Same as before, Rush Swifties. No change there. But instead of crit, you're going to look for another item called Dustblade. This is for extra burst on your autos, and it makes your enemies super paranoid because after getting a kill, more than likely you're going to go to a safe distance to do it again. Then after Dustblade, Collector. The Collector is going to be your second item. Stacking another type of burst is a recipe for disaster. Well, for the enemy at least. Next is Lord Doms, for those tanks that try to build against you. Because if you're bringing down Malphite to 60% with a good crit, imagine what that'll do to a mid lane mage or a squishy clown coming to gank. After that build, it's pretty much freeform like the crit build. The last two items should at least be crit so you can keep popping off high damage autos at Mach 3. Now, to further emphasize on Jhin's laning phase, you need to rely on others to get ahead. Harass with your 4 shot and wait for an opening made by a jungler and armored support with high CC. Once you capitalize on those and start getting picks, you're probably going to be the support everybody needs. Landing a long range W will root your enemies, causing an easy pick for your teammates. Using your ult to slow your opponents or clean up for more kills, Jhin is a very versatile champion. But unless you're 4-0, more than likely you're not going to go 1v1 people up close. Anyone that can close the gap between him and them is an obvious death, unless you saved your W to get away. But that is very situational and you have to hit it. It's called a skill shot for a reason. So always have allies or traps nearby to help you set up against your enemies. He's a perfectionist, meaning that if anything goes wrong, Jhin can't do anything about it. But if you're able to utilize ally abilities and use traps just to mark a champion with W triggers, then you should be fine. Jhin is probably the champion I have self-acclaimed to master, but there might be some forbidden tech that I don't even know about. But a fair warning, if you can't handle things not going according to plan, prepare to feel like Jhin every time he comes back from his death screen yelling, "Alright!" Other than that, he's a very fun champion to play. Once you learn the ins and outs of his abilities, getting S game shall be a breeze. Just pray you don't get quote-unquote support champions or quote, "this champ is good at support, trust me," and we're done. Wasn't too complicated, right? Well, if everything goes well, you can see more of my attempts getting S games with him. If that doesn't come, then I hope Tanner has another fun champ in store. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.